And I don't know if you guys can hear that beeping, but it's the smoke alarms in that cabin. You know, they come up once every 2 or 3 weeks in the winter. Sometimes even every 4 weeks, you know, so not often, so they don't leave it heated, so the smoke alarms go off because of the cold for some reason. So, if you hear it, that's what that is. Now, today, this is the old Sawmill engine. You can see I have it off. And it's not because it's broke. That engine will start on one pull. No issues today if I wanted to. I'm going to put this little 2-cylinder Kubota diesel, which is, I think 14 horsepower. I'm going to put that on the Sawmill. And to do that, oh wait, I need one more piece, but I'll grab that in a minute. Here's the centrifugal clutch that came with that. I've got these 2 pillow block bearings, and these are shaft collars. I'll lock them into place when I get it where I want it. Like it'll look just like this. I've got a drill and tap. I believe it. What size was it? 7/16, I think. National course in the end there. So I can put the bolt in to hold the clutch and pulley in place. And they will sit on those pillow block bearings. I'll have it tension exactly the same as the motor, you know. Tighten or loosen that and it'll pull it, so it'll tension. Now let me grab the last piece of the puzzle. And when I'm done with this, I'm working on the wood splitter. That'll be a separate video. Yeah, there's wood splitter parts in these boxes. Fittings and such, hydraulic fittings. Well, it won't focus for some reason. Yeah, well, don't need it to focus. And that pulley's cold. Guess that's what happens. Now, this pulley, I don't know how long the shaft needs to be yet. Hold on. Yeah, that's a tight fit. Give me 1 second. There we go. Now, I'm not sure how long the shaft needs to be yet. I bought a 3-foot shaft to give me plenty of room. So, from the engine, it will drive this pulley. I'll just sit this on the saw how it'll be. It'll be something like this. So, clutch will be where it usually is. These, I'll just let it rest there, it's easier. These will be approximately in that area, you know, so I can tension it. This pulley will be, I'm guessing, about this far. And the engine will be mounted over here. I gotta figure out how to mount that. It looks like I can weld onto this piece without warping the saw. And possibly this piece and this piece. I don't want to weld onto that one. That might warp it. I'm not entirely sure. So better not mess with it. But anyway, let me set this down. We'll show you the engine again. And this is all surprisingly heavy stuff. It's not exactly easy with one hand. It's a 3.5-inch pulley. And on the end of this engine is a 3.5-inch pulley. This maxes out at 3,600 RPM, exactly the same as the little Harbor Freight motor. So the centrifugal clutch ought to work just fine. And you can see this is double pulley as well. So this pulley end is going to face that way on the saw. So looking at the saw from the front, you will have the pulley facing that way. You will have the shaft with the pulley end facing that way. So there will be a belt, like right in this area, there will be a belt from the engine pulley to the shaft pulley. And yes, I will have to make a guard for that, because you're constantly reaching this lever to lock the saw. So that is how that's supposed to go. So I'll try and film, steps along the way as I do this. So I'll See you then. So I've worked at this for about 3 hours so far, and here's what I've came up with. And this shaft will be cut to length when I figure out where it needs to be. But these bearings are self-aligning, so I don't need to be super accurate, but you know, I use a speed square to get it as close as I could. I've got slots for tensioning. Those slots I didn't cut quite big enough, so it doesn't have as much movement in the back. It's welded onto the saw frame. It comes out to here. Now right now this is just kind of cantilevered over the edge. I'm going to run braces from either that angle or that square tube. They'll just come up at whatever angle I need to cut it to make that. And you can see that there's my double pulley. The motor, I'm going to take its old mount that was on the log splitter, because this motor just didn't work for that application. That's why I'm using the Sawmill motor. It will mount, like there'll be a leg here, 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 and here. It'll be mounted up and to the side slightly. So I can have my pulley on there. What does that sound? That ain't important. So I can have my pulley will be about here, and then the belt will, you know, between there. Tensioner, I think I want to mount at the bottom, and I can just have it mounted on a bolt, so I can, you know, if I want more tension, I screw the bolt up. I'll weld a nut there. I'll screw the bolt up. If I want less, I'll take it down. That's how that'll work, I think. None of this is concrete plans. This is in my head. It changes as I go. But there's how that looks with the centrifugal clutch. It's lunchtime now, I think. Didn't bring a watch out or anything, but I think it's lunch. So I'm gonna go eat lunch. And hopefully by the end of the day, I'll at least have it loosely on there. And then I will be able to figure out exactly how I want it to go. So I'll bring you back later. Well, this is a full day's work so far to get to this point. And that's just resting to hold that level. This is only tacked on at the back. I've got to actually tighten the bolts down to hold this. Got to build them out for the radiator. I've got to trim the shaft back. We'll cut it back approximately right there. So there's a little bit sticking out. I gotta notch that so the belt can run straight down and around. My tensioner, I'm gonna weld probably a 5/8, maybe a 3/4 nut right here. And I will put a pulley on the end of it. So if I screw it in, I'll push on the belt. If I unscrew it, it'll release it. That's how that'll tension. This, I already showed you earlier how that's going to tension. And it's got the centrifugal clutch, so I don't have to worry about that. As I said, radiator mount needs done, because you can see it's just flopping. And yes, when it's in the right position, it clears that by about 1/2 inch. That's just fine. The throttle, I think I want to set right here, where the original throttle was. I'll set it somewhere there. Key switch and instrument panel, I'd like to put maybe right here. The water tank I have down just to get the engine in place easier, but it can go back where it was. What else needs to happen yet? Obviously all these wires and stuff, I'll probably put them on here and zip tie everything so it looks neat. The fuel tank, I think, will fit under here, between this shaft and right here. It should. And since it's got a fuel pump, it's not an issue. So that's the plan for that. And the battery, I think, is going to go right here. And if I can't get the fuel tank where I wanted, I'll put it here, and I'll put the battery here. Or actually, what I might do to try and offset some of the weight, put the battery on top here. set up, make a bracket, or maybe just weld onto here and here, stick it straight out the front and plop the battery there. Because I got a sizable battery for this thing. It's this great big one here. There's my foot for comparison. It's a great big battery. Because that little engine takes a stupid amount of power to crank over. I mean, it takes a lot of power. Which doesn't make sense, but it does. I don't know if I showed you that earlier, but I drilled and tapped the thread to hold that on. You can see that's good and tight. And I got plenty of room of adjustment left. So tomorrow, I'm going to cut, well, first of all, weld the back in. I will put a brace of angle, because these were just temporary, these square ones. I'll take a piece of angle iron from here to here, there to there, and the same on the other side. And that will brace that to that. This will be braced onto here, same on the other side. And that's it. So see you on the next video, which will be part 2 of this, which in part 2 I'm not going to post it until I get this running. So you'll see it running in part 2. Well, it'd run right now, but you'll see it cutting in part 2. How about that? Alright, see you in the next video. Bye. About 10 degrees out. Wednesday, hold on, let me see what day it is. The 13th of December at 10 degrees. And this is load number 5. Up to the scrapyard. And no, I don't throw out anything useful. Any of you who know me know I keep pretty much everything. This is all just literal junk. Completely useless.